Hey and welcome to this week's video. So this week I want to share with you some tips to getting quicker shots in every single newborn session. And that way it will help your newborn session go a lot faster. Tip number one, and my biggest tip that I want you to take away from anything I've ever given you before, is don't wait for baby to fall asleep. Now, a lot of photographers take hours just for baby to sleep, and guess what? They don't end up sleeping, probably only for 5 minutes if you're lucky. So I actually work with the baby. I don't wait for the baby to sleep, and usually when I wrap the baby and the baby's settled in their wrap, they usually tend to fall asleep on their own without me having to push for it. So if you find the baby is unsettled, highly suggest you fully wrap them, so no hands and feet out, and then you'll find that that's all they needed to actually fall asleep. So tip number two is wait for that split second, then take the shot. So if you can't manage to get the baby to fully sleep, which I don't do anyway, as I said, I make sure they're just, once they're fully wrapped and they're nice and quiet, or however it is you've wrapped them and they've just quiet and closed their eyes for a little bit, make sure you've got your camera ready to go and just take that shot. That's pretty much what you see in most of my images. The baby hasn't been sleeping for long. People assume the baby has, but really the baby's only closed their eyes for a few seconds. Tip number three is work with the baby, not against the baby. So I always explain this to my clients that I work with however the baby likes it. So if the baby doesn't want to sleep, great, I take photos with the baby's eyes open. If the baby wants to sleep, bonus. I don't actually force the baby to sleep. I say that in my contract, communicate that to my clients, and I even tell them at the day of the session. And I really think that's what's made my workflow better, my sessions run quicker, and that way you don't have to tire yourself out, tire the baby out, and of course tire the parents out during a session. So instead of 4 hours, your session can go for under an hour. And tip number four is there's no rule that the baby must sleep. Please, if you see this in the industry, there is no actual rule baby should sleep. Like I said, I work with the baby, not against the baby, and I really think this industry has created something where it's like a win or a competition if the baby is asleep or the photographer can get the baby to sleep. If the client wants the baby to sleep, yes, please try. But if the baby doesn't, this is why I explain to my clients that I work with the baby, not against the baby. So I just want you to understand that there is no rule for baby to sleep to actually be the best photographer or take the best image. So there you have it. There's some tips to help you, take better images in your session, make the session run quicker. I really hope they help you in some way. Remember, if you enjoyed any of these tips or you've got any tips for me, leave them below. I'm sure everyone else would love to read them as well. And if you haven't already, head on over to thephotographersociety.com, download my free newborn session guide, and make sure you're following me over on Instagram if you haven't already. I'll catch you next week for another video. Until then, take care.